Welcome to the Hard Truth Podcast. This is Jeremy Fouts, and today we are going to be talking about something that's really important for me to talk about as I've been helping a lot of families and individuals deal with these subjects that we're going to be talking about, and that is the everyday fight, the juggling of life, family, and business, kid issues that you're dealing with, business issues, tragic situations that just come up in life. And I want to say that first and foremost, guys, this is what life is. It usually starts with a conversation with me and someone that's reaching out and they're like, man, and this happened and this happened. And it's almost like, poor, pitiful me. Why does this stuff always happen to me? And I'll start this episode by saying it don't always just happen to you. It happens in life. You're going to have a dog ran over. You're going to have someone that passes in your life that you love. You're going to have a job that you thought you was going to get that you don't. You're going to have a bonus that you thought you was going to get that you don't. You're going to have these things happen in life. And that's why it's called the everyday fight. So today I want to talk about this and I want to give you some things that I've done at 49 to recognize that this is part of life. And I want to just share with you some personal things that I do that I hold myself accountable. And hopefully you can apply these to your life and make a big difference. So let's start off by a day in the life.
Let's go! What up?
We see I've got several athletes for Core Vive that'll do videos for us, and they call it a day in the life. And it starts off by alarm going off early, and they grab their protein shake, they grab their pre-workout, they go to the gym, they then do their studies, and then they go to class, and then they go practice ball, and then all these different things. And I've got to ask you, what does a day in your life look like? See, if you really understand what we're going through here is we're going through a day by day grind in order for us to get ready to challenge ourselves in that Saturday game, or if it's a baseball, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday game in college. We're going through this everyday grind to say, was we good enough to win? And when you really think about it, us as adults, we get in this funk in life, we get in this rut in life, and we don't push ourselves on a day-to-day basis, a day in our life to get better, to get better, to get better. Then when we get challenged with that job promotion, or we get challenged in our business, when we have a kid issue that come to us and we blow up and we don't know how to handle that situation, it's because we was not preparing ourselves a day in the life, a day at a time. So when you float through a week and you don't have anything prepared to win, and then you don't win that week, and then that leads on to the next week that you didn't win, and then 90 days later you wake up and say, how did I get here? Then if you don't do no changing, 90 more days goes by, another 90 days, 4 of those goes by, and a whole year went by, and you say, man, why am I still in the same spot? Or why am I in a little bit of a worse spot than what I was in? It starts off with your day in your life. Now, I'm not going to talk about my whole morning routine. I've done that before in the past, but I want to go through some things that I really try to focus on my day in life. So let's start by saying that I look forward to getting up early. Now, sometimes I don't really want to get out of bed. I'm just telling you the truth. Last night, Pearson had an awesome playoff game. We won. We got home late. He wanted to visit, but I'm tired. I chose the time to spend with him to visit, as I do after every baseball game. And then I hit the bed late. And I got up early and I'm like, man, I really don't know. But here's the reason I choose my early mornings is because I feel like the only way for me to be the man that I need to be is I've got to spend that time in the morning studying a little bit, writing down in my journal, taking my tasks that I wrote out the night before of what I'm going to plan to attack, understanding the importance of me getting a lift in and burning some energy. And I'm going to talk about that here in a second, why that's important. It's not just because you want to look good, but I look and I say, these are things that make a difference to me. See, one of my boys' sayings that they said in the past, but they're scared to say it now, is when they would make a comment, oh, I have to go work out early this morning, like for baseball or football. And I always change that language to say, you get to work out today. You get the opportunity to get bigger, to get stronger, to be better than your competition. Us adults, we got to look at it as I get a chance to grab a personal development book to learn something that I don't know. I get a chance to work on this skill to be better than the other people around me. I get a chance to go to the gym to be an example, to be bigger, to be stronger, whether you're not trying to get bigger weight wise, but get bigger arms or get bigger legs or you have an opportunity to get better every day. What does your day of life look like? Here's some really important things that I try to do. Number one, I try to control what goes in my mouth and I control what goes into my mind. So let's talk about what goes into your mouth. Are you choosing alcohol at night just to put you to sleep for you don't have to worry about all the issues in your life? Are you choosing to grab the sweets to make you feel good emotionally because it tastes so good? It starts with what goes in your mouth. I work with a lot of adults on their eating habits, on helping them to change physically. And I guarantee you, the majority of their issues that they deal with on a day to day basis is because they do not control what goes in their mouth. They have low protein, high carbs, high sugars, a lot of wine, a lot of beer, and they wonder why they're lethargic. They wonder why they don't feel like doing anything. Control what goes in your mouth to start with. Every time you choose something to go in your mouth, say, is this going to bring good into my life or is this not going to bring good in my life? Controlling what goes into your mind the next. I give my boys a lot of freedom on social media. They're a little bit older. If you have younger kids, I wouldn't tell you to do that, but I've got a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old, and I've got to at one point realize that they're maturing. I've got to give them some privacy. I got to let them kind of understand and ask them, do you think you can be responsible enough to handle this? But from time to time, I love grabbing their TikTok. I love grabbing their Instagram with them right beside me and flipping through. And I remind them that your algorithm tells you what you are focused on. So Pearson being a baseball player, you focus, go through the feed, and if it's baseball, 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 he's thinking about baseball, which in his situation, it's actually a lot of hunting too, because he loves to hunt. If I grab Beckett's phone, he loves lacrosse and loves football. If I scroll through and I see lacrosse and football, over and over, then that's what's going into his mind. This did not happen, but if I was to grab their phones, and I'm sure it will happen, where all I see is girls in bikinis, then guess what? That's all that's going into their mind. See, it's the same way for us as adults. When I have friends that'll call me and all they want to talk about is the news and the negativity in the news and this situation and that situation, then it automatically tells me, guess what they're focused on? Guess what they're putting in their mind? It's the same way. So control what goes into your mouth. And if you control what goes into your mind on a day in your life, then I guarantee you, if it's good things that go into your mind and your body, you're going to already start seeing a different path. Now, next is something I learned not till my late 30s, and that is energy out and energy in. What I mean by this is energy out. I get up in a day in my life and I see that, you know what? If I can put a lot of energy out, if I can hit that morning run, if I can hit that morning workout, number one, man, I'm going to feel great. I might not feel good doing it. There's some mornings like this morning, I did not feel good doing it, but I've never left the gym and said, man, I wish I wouldn't have did that. See, the energy out, what that does is not only helps me from a dopamine standpoint and helps me, feel better and feel like I've accomplished something, but it also makes me look at food as now I need energy in. I can't wait to get my grass-fed whey plus collagen core V protein shake after a workout with egg whites. I love it because I don't want a Snickers bar or something bad because I just got through putting energy out and I'm looking as that fuel to bring energy in. Throughout the day, I look at it and say, man, I really push myself during this workout. I don't want a nasty piece of cheese pizza. I want some good steak. I want some good yogurt. I want some good, protein source. I want to give myself energy back in. And then what happens is energy out, energy in from a food. I lay down at night. I've burned a lot of energy out. I've had a lot of energy come in. I've got a list of what I want to accomplish the next day. So guess what? I sleep like a baby. And I wake up the next morning and a man on fire and a man excited to attack the day. That's the way this thing works. The people that call me and say, man, I have to drink 6 or 7 beers to go to sleep at night, then I know they didn't put energy out. They didn't bring good energy of food into their body. They didn't lay down with the task of what they want to accomplish all the things the next day and have a clear mind. They're basically trying to get themselves to sleep through bad habits that's getting them nowhere in life. Energy out, put a lot out, bring good energy in, and then sleep like a baby to refuel and to rebuild your muscles in your mind, and then attack the next day on a mission. Now we're going to talk about something I've trained on for years. And it's what usually takes most people out of this game of life and the fight. And that is the peaks and the valleys. The peaks, yes, anybody can go through those. Those feel great. Last night Pearson went 2 for 3, and man, the family was all excited. Last weekend on the game he went 0 for 3. You know what? It was down. It was like horrible. What in the world? Everybody's looking at each other. We don't even want to eat our food. I mean, that's life. But you've got to understand these peaks and valleys. See, the peaks and valleys, this is what sculpts us, what molds us and creates us to becoming that person that we want to be. See, the ups is so fun because you realize it's not always a grind. It's not always a struggle. Some days you get a glimpse of whatever it's all for, and this is it. I mean, my kid won. My kid went 2 for 3. I poured so much into him. Look what he did. Or your wife saying, thank you for showing up today. Man, it feels great. These days, they hit different. It's the fuel that keeps us in the fight. But then there's days, that's what I call the downs, the tough times. Now let's talk about the tough times. Whether it's a setback at work or a personal struggle, we all have those days when we are overwhelmed. We're thinking, man, how do I get out of this situation? What did I do to deserve this? Why is this happening to me? And how do I change this? What are some things that I can do? The first thing is surround yourself with winners, not whiners. If you go to a whiner, then they'll say, man, Jeremy, I can't believe that happened to you. That's horrible. Can't believe your boss didn't give you that raise. You go to a winner, That winner is going to say, what does your everyday life look like? Have you been showing up to work early? Have you been giving 100%? Have you put your phone down and focused on the task at hand? Are you understanding that what you can control is the most important thing, which I'm going to talk about here in a second? But if you want to use my social media, give me feedback on what it is I can help you with, and I'll be honest with you. But you've got to surround yourself with winners, not whiners. The next thing you need to do is what helps with me is I write down my thoughts. I've got a piece of paper and I write this down and I look at it and I say, man, I'm feeling sorry for myself, but really and truly, what happened here is because I didn't put the effort here in this situation. Now, that won't always be the case. Sometimes there's going to be unforeseen situations that come in, but most of the time, I look at it and I say, self, I've got to be honest with self. This has not happened the way I wanted to happen because my day in life was not like it needed to be. See, it's essential, guys, for you to acknowledge these feelings instead of hide them. It's essential for you to look at them and say, I've got to see here where I need to get better. See, you've got to be a leader to help people around you understand these downtimes. If you go 0 for 3 at the plate, that's not as fun as when you go 2 for 3. But I'm going to ask myself this one important question, and that is, did I control the controllable? And then ask myself, where do you spend your time? Thinking about the controllables of what you can control, or the things that you can't control? I've got an athlete that's a high performer that I was working with the other day for about 30 minutes. And he's not where he needs to be, and he's in a slump, and I'm spending some time with him, and I say, hey, let's stop right here. I don't want to keep hearing all the reasons why. Let's put it down on a piece of paper. And I said, up at the top on the right, write uncontrollables. You cannot control these things. Over to the left, write controllables. We can control these. Write a line, draw a line right down the middle, and let's list all these things out. And then I asked him this simple question. I said, be honest with yourself. What percent of the uncontrollables are you thinking about? Where your time, if it's split into 100% of the time, is what percentage of the time are you thinking about the uncontrollables, and what percentage of the time are you thinking about the things you can control? And he said 75% of his thinking is on the uncontrollables. See, once we started shifting, majority of his time is spent on what he can control, then all of a sudden that's what he's focused on. Then all of a sudden, all those things that he's focused on starts taking priority, and he's getting more effort in his everyday life on things he can control. Next thing you know, he's a totally different athlete. So that's the same thing with you as an adult. Ask yourself, what am I spending my time? Am I worried about the bills? Am I worried about all these different things? And then write all those things down and then say, what can we do to change this? Then write the things we can control. We can work harder. We can, put more time in those things that's going to make a difference in our finances. We can put more time and energy of what we put in our mouth. We can put more time and energy in developing a new skill, or making that skill that better, that's going to increase our income. All these things are through what we call focus. And focus on the things you can control and get better at in your everyday in life. Next is the fight for success. Guys, every day is a battle. I remind myself that success isn't just about what you achieve, but it's also how much you're willing to push through these difficult situations. See, setting a small goal of saying, you know what, I'm going to, I've hit 3 sales this month, I'm going to hit 5. You know what, I lifted 4 days this week, I'm going to lift 6 next week. I'm going to, I got my protein intake up, but I'm still having cravings for sugar. This week, I'm not putting sugar in my body. You know what? I have not read a book in a long time. I listen to music during my workouts. I'm shifting to a good podcast. I'm shifting to something that's going to feed my mind. I'm going to grab a personal development book. I'm going to focus on the things that can make a difference. And I'm going to make these small, little achievable goals of becoming a better person for I can see a better outcome. I've got to hold myself accountable and be focused on the bigger picture, remembering what is my purpose here, what fuels my passion, who it's affected if I don't win is a question I've asked myself over and over. My employees are counting on me. My wife is counting on me. My two boys are counting on me. And you say, well, man, how do you handle all that pressure? Because pressure is a privilege. If you've been put in a situation that you feel like you have pressure, don't look at it as, why do I have all this pressure on me? Look at it as, thank God I got this pressure. Now I've got to focus on my everyday life, and all I have to do is go perform. I've got to control what I can control, focus on that, and every day I get a chance, an opportunity to take that pressure as a privilege. Now I'm going to go perform under this privilege. Guys, to wrap everything up, every day indeed is a fight. It's a fight against stress. It's a fight against pressures, and sometimes against our own selves. I mean, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. That's why this podcast is called the Hard Truth Podcast. At 49, I still don't have everything figured out. At 49, I still have my own struggles. But I remember that it's important to share these struggles and to face these struggles and to enjoy these victories. And remember that every challenge I face is a step towards growth. Embrace this process called fighting through life. You're not alone in this journey. We're in this together. So guys, I'd love to hear from you on social media or YouTube channel. We're putting a lot of energy and time. I don't do any ads on this podcast. This podcast is solely for two reasons. Number one, to challenge me as a man, to say, how can I get up and study and deliver a message that's going to make an impact in someone's life? And then number two, to hopefully find an audience that says, thank you for sharing this, Jeremy. I was that person that was drinking 6 beer at night and trying to, forget about all the struggles that I had going on in life. I was that person that was getting up and looking for an excuse not to work out to be better. I was that person that was choosing just to flood my mind with entertainment versus education. And through your education, educating me, I'm seeing a difference in my husband. I'm seeing a difference in my wife. I'm seeing a difference in me. I'm seeing a difference in my kids. I'm seeing a difference in the people that I'm around. Guys, the hard true fact is it does take work and it does take energy, but the everyday fight is real. And we are in this together, and our job is to understand these peaks and valleys and say, I have got pressure on me, but this is a privilege. And I'm going to go win every day in life as many as I can, to win as many weeks, to win as many months, to become that person that I know God created. Thank you guys for joining the Hard Truth Podcast. Please share this with your friend or family member if you got value out of today's message. And remember, I am here to support you, to help you. Give me a message on Instagram of what's something that you're struggling with that I can help you overcome that struggle. Keep fighting.
Let's go.